What if I told you that before skyscrapers touched the sky in New York, before the Great Wall stood tall in China, and before Europe built its castles, Africa already had civilizations, so advanced, so powerful, and so breathtaking, that their legacies still echo today? This is the story of Africa's great ancient civilizations, their glory, their struggles, and how they shaped the world in ways we rarely hear about. From the sands of Egypt to the gold mines of Mali, from stone towers in Zimbabwe to mighty fleets in Carthage, Africa was not just part of history, it was leading it. Let's begin with ancient Egypt, around 3100 BC. When you think of Egypt, you probably imagine the pyramids, the Sphinx, golden tombs of pharaohs. But Egypt wasn't just about monuments. It was one of the very first organized states in human history. While much of the world lived in scattered villages, Egypt had cities, written language, laws, medicine, and massive agriculture powered by the Nile River. The Nile was Egypt's lifeline. Every year, it flooded, leaving rich soil that made farming possible. Think of it like nature's gift, a yearly delivery of free fertilizer. Without it, Egypt's greatness wouldn't exist. Pharaohs became god-kings, ruling not just politically but spiritually. And their power built wonders like the pyramids of Giza, standing for over 4,000 years. To put that in perspective, Cleopatra lived closer to our time than to when the pyramids were built. That's how ancient Egypt truly is. But Egypt didn't stand alone. Just to the south, another mighty civilization grew, Nubia, also known as Kush. Nubia was Egypt's neighbor, rival, and sometimes ruler. The Nubians were master archers, so skilled that the Egyptians called their land Ta-Seti, the land of the bow. They were also rich in gold, ivory, and iron. At times, Egypt conquered Nubia, but history took a twist, because in the 8th century BC, the Nubians turned the tables. They marched north, conquered Egypt, and ruled as the 25th dynasty, the Black Pharaohs of Egypt. Imagine that, the rulers of one of the world's most famous civilizations being Nubians from the south. Now let's move west to North Africa's coast, Carthage. If Egypt was known for pyramids, Carthage was known for power at sea. Founded by Phoenician traders around the 9th century BC, Carthage grew into a mighty city in modern-day Tunisia. It became a trading empire, controlling the Mediterranean waters. Think of it like the New York City of the ancient world, a hub where goods, ideas, and cultures mixed. And Carthage had one of history's greatest military geniuses, Hannibal. He's the guy who marched war elephants across the Alps to attack Rome. Imagine the shock, Romans waking up to elephants charging down their mountains. Hannibal nearly crushed Rome, but eventually, Carthage fell. In one of the most brutal endings in history, Rome destroyed Carthage in 146 BC, burning the city and pouring salt into its soil. But the legend of Carthage's brilliance never died. Let's head east again to the kingdom of Aksum in modern Ethiopia and Eritrea. Aksum rose around the 1st century AD and became one of the great trading empires of the ancient world. Its ships sailed the Red Sea, connecting Africa to India and the Middle East. Aksum minted its own coins, written in its own script, Guizi. It was also one of the earliest places in the world to adopt Christianity, long before Europe fully embraced it. Imagine a powerful African kingdom, carving obelisks taller than a 10-story building, building churches from solid rock, and linking continents through trade. That was Aksum. Now, to southern Africa, Great Zimbabwe. Between the 11th and 15th centuries, a city of stone rose on the African plateau. Its name was Great Zimbabwe. Here, massive stone walls and towers were built, without mortar, just perfectly cut stones stacked together. The Great Enclosure, its largest structure, was so impressive that when Europeans first saw it, they couldn't believe Africans had built it. They tried to invent stories blaming outsiders. But the truth is clear. Great Zimbabwe was the center of a thriving trade empire, dealing gold and ivory with traders as far as China. Its ruins still stand as a symbol of African ingenuity. And now, perhaps the most famous of all West African empires, Mali. In the 13th century, Mali rose to power, fueled by golden trade across the Sahara Desert. Its most legendary ruler was Mansa Musa. They say he was the richest man in history. In 1324, he made a pilgrimage to Mecca with so much gold that he caused inflation in Cairo, because he gave away more wealth than the city could handle. Imagine someone being so rich that just passing through your country changes your economy. But Mansa Musa wasn't just wealthy, he invested in knowledge. He built mosques, libraries, and universities, especially in Timbuktu, which became one of the great centers of learning in the world. Finally, we come to Songhai, Mali's successor. By the 15th century, Songhai controlled more territory than Mali ever did. Its capital, Gao, and the city of Timbuktu were buzzing centers of trade, scholarship, and culture. Imagine caravans stretching across the Sahara, carrying salt, gold, books, and ideas. Songhai's leaders built armies so strong that for a time, they dominated West Africa. But like all empires, they eventually fell, conquered by invaders from Morocco in the late 16th century. So what do these stories tell us? Egypt, Nubia, Carthage, Aksum, Great Zimbabwe, Mali, Songhai. They prove that Africa was never a dark continent. It was a continent of light, of innovation, of empires and ideas that rivaled the world's greatest powers. When you hear about ancient civilizations, don't just think of Rome, Greece, or China. Remember the pyramids of Egypt, the warriors of Nubia, the fleets of Carthage, the obelisks of Aksum, the stone walls of Zimbabwe, the wealth of Mali, and the scholars of Songhai. Africa's story is not one of silence waiting for others to write it. It is a story of greatness, resilience, and brilliance, written in stone, gold, and memory. And it still speaks today. So the next time someone asks about great ancient civilizations, you'll know the truth. Africa was not just part of the story, it was the beginning, the middle, and the light that guided the world forward.